This is Elizabeth at the Kenai Community Library coming at you with our new program for this winter called Domestic Arts. We're gearing this kind of towards our older teenagers, our young 20-year-olds, and hopefully you guys just need a little bit of tips and tricks as you guys are headed off on your own. So today we're going to kind of do a simple meal, boiling water to make some spaghetti, and then heating up a little bit of a can of spaghetti sauce to have spaghetti, a nice, simple, and easy meal. So what I've got before me is our burner. We've got a double burner here at the Kenai Library. You could have a stovetop, you could have a single burner, whatever you've got. This will all work. What we have on our big pot with the cover is water. I've got my burner set to medium right now, and we're just waiting for the water to boil. And how you know it's boiling is it kind of pops and bubbles. So that boiling water is sitting right about 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which is kind of a cool thing to learn, that when you're cooking, you're really cooking things at 100 degrees Fahrenheit, which if you've ever lived in Arizona, you might know what that feels like. So we kind of have started this and we're just waiting. We've got some little bubbles that are kind of showing up around the outside of the perimeter of the pot. The reason why we put a lid on it is that actually helps keep the heat and trap the heat in near the water, and so that the heat doesn't kind of rise out. What you'll kind of notice is that we'll get some steam on the top, and when you open it, it will actually cool itself down. So once we get it kind of rolling with the top on, before we put our spaghetti in, we're going to actually have to take the top off and let it heat back up a little bit. But this is one of our tricks on how to boil your water faster. Have you ever heard the old adage that says, "A watched pot doesn't boil"? Well, that is absolutely true, because you watch the clock, you watch the pot, you watch the clock, and you don't ever remember when it started to boil. So here, like we talked about a little bit earlier, we can see the bubbles along the outside of the pot, and we kind of see how they're coming up and they're breaking apart. And different pots will boil water a little bit differently. So this would actually, I would say, we are almost there. I kind of want it rolling a little bit more, which means that we have a little bit more of those bubbles kind of popping up. Again, each pot, a stainless steel pot will boil water a little bit different. This is a non-stick pot. So, everything's a little bit different. Whatever you have on hand will work. Take your time, enjoy yourself, and know that you're going to make a great dinner. Alrighty, so now that we have our water boiling, as you noticed, I've taken my pot lid off, and we're still getting that same amount of boil. And you can see the bubbles kind of making a rolling motion on the top of the water. We're going to add just a little bit of salt here. And I'm just going to pour some in my hand. Not too much, just enough. And we're going to kind of put that all in and around. And then you're going to open up your spaghetti. Okay, and on the back of your spaghetti, on the back of all of your pasta dishes, whatever you're doing, it's going to tell you how long to cook it in order for it to be al dente, firm, or tender. And always try what you want, see what you like. Some people like the tender, some people like the al dente, some people like firm. You can always go for firm, and if you accidentally leave it in another minute, you're still fine. You're not overcooking your pasta. So I'm going to take out just as much as I need, because this whole entire container will feed like a family of 4 with leftovers. So you can do this one of 2 ways depending on your pot. You can either stick it straight in. What I like to do is I like to break it over my pot and then stick it in, and that way I don't have to worry about really, really long noodles, but they're still somewhat long. And then I stir it so that it doesn't sit on the bottom of my water. And now I'm going to start my timer for I think we'll put it in for 11 minutes. And I love having timers because that way then you don't have to look at a clock, figure out the time, and then try to remember a time. The timer does it for you. Cell phones always have a timer. Your iPad might have a timer. Your Kindle might have a timer. Your laptop might even have a timer on it. So go ahead and set whatever timer you can, and that way you've got your noodles going. Now that my noodles are going, I'm going to open up my already pre-done spaghetti sauce because this is a little bit easier than actually making your own. But you're more than welcome to Google your own recipe on how to make your own spaghetti sauce because it's easy and it's just a little bit more time consuming. So I don't know if you noticed, but I tipped my jar over and I hit the bottom because what that does is it normally helps you pop off your lid. And then in this other pot here, I'm probably going to pour just a little bit of sauce. Not the whole thing, because I don't think we need the whole thing. It's just me for lunch today. And then I'm going to turn on my burner to somewhere between medium and low. I kind of want this warm right as my pasta finishes so I can drain my pasta and then throw my sauce over it. So now that we have that, I'm actually going to use my wooden spoon and just kind of make sure that that's spread out through the bottom of my pot. Now, I would say that the pan that I have my sauce in is a little bit too large. However, it's what I have at the library. You can use a smaller pot. It doesn't matter what you've got. If you have to wait to use the same pot after your pasta's done, that's completely fine. Don't worry about it. Don't stress. Cooking is supposed to be relaxing and fun, and a great way to do something for yourself and potentially somebody else that you are living with or enjoy hanging out with. So now we just kind of wait and watch and look for some bubbles coming up in our sauce, and you can see that our noodles are still boiling, and I'm probably going to stir them once or twice just so they don't stick together and they don't stick to the bottom of my pot. Don't know if you can kind of see it here. We're starting to get a couple of bubbles coming up in our sauce. So that's a good thing. That means our sauce is warming up. And that also means that we'll need to stir it a little bit so it doesn't go ahead and scour the bottom of our pot. I'm going to turn it down a little bit because I did turn it up due to the fact that this burner is a little bit smaller than my pot. So when you have a pot that's larger than your burner, you just want to make sure that you kind of stick it straight over the burner. So that way the middle of your pot gets hot, which means that you're going to have an even heating surface over the whole bottom of your pot. And we have about another 4 more minutes on our pasta, which means that our sauce is actually doing really great. I'm getting some more bubbles, so this is a really good thing. We're just keeping it on low just to kind of keep it warm. It's almost like heating up a can of condensed soup. You just want it to roll just a little bit, but not enough to burn. And because I want it warm but not too warm, I think I will probably actually turn it all the way off right now, because we had some good boil, and you can see even after I turned it off, because the electric plate's still hot, we're still getting some little simmering bubbles. So that's fine because we're not adding any more heat. We're just letting that stay warm so we have a warm sauce to put over our spaghetti. Alrighty, time's up. Our 11 minutes is done. So we're going to take our pot to the sink and we're going to strain our noodles. Ready? We're at our sink. We have our colander in, and I take my water and I just dump it in. And then the noodles fall in. And it goes just exactly like that. Ooh, that's hot. You might want to make sure you have a hot pad too. And then what you can do is take a little bit of cold water and rinse the noodles just a tad. That stops the cooking process. Also cools down your metal just a little bit. And then there's your drained spaghetti noodles, and now we'll go put it on our plate and add our sauce. Alrighty, so I'm going to put my noodles on my plate. And see, even that much noodles still made enough for a full plate and extra. And then I'm going to take my sauce and I'm going to pour some sauce over it. And ta-da! You now have a great spaghetti feast for you and your friends. And if you want to find some more tips and tricks in the Kenai Community Library, we have this awesome book on how to be a person and other books like it with tips on how to be a little bit more homey and how to make it through living on your own. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day and that you enjoy a great meal.